Yo, what is going on everybody? Shri Kanase here. So how to not get sued when dropshipping with Shopify. Now, getting sued is one of the most biggest fears a lot of Shopify dropshippers have usually in the beginning when they don't really even have a store up and running. And it is simply not a bad thing because getting sued when dropshipping with Shopify could lead to a lot of issues such as having to deal with lawyers, having to go to court, and all sorts of things which somebody doesn't really sign up for when they sign up for Shopify dropship. One thing a lot of people don't really understand is that when it comes to getting sued, if you follow just a few specific steps and guidelines, it is very hard to actually get sued by someone. But of course, it is also important that you actually follow them and not just put up any random product on your Shopify store to prevent facing further problems. But by the end of this video, you're gonna know exactly what causes a lot of Shopify dropshippers to get sued in the first place and how to avoid getting sued at all. But without wasting any more time, let's just jump right into it. So the first thing you'll have to do in order to actually avoid getting sued at all is just gently tap that like button down below for the YouTube algorithm. But once you have tapped the like button down below, let's start off by talking about exactly the specific reasons why you actually can't even get sued in the first place. So first things first, one specific reason which is actually one of the biggest reasons why a lot of people get sued when dropshipping with Shopify, and that is simply because of a defective product. Now, to give you guys an example of what I mean by this exactly, let's pretend, for example, that you're selling chairs on your Shopify store and you're sourcing all of these chairs from Aliexpress. However, there's one specific chair which starts selling really well, and within 20 to 30 days, the chairs start getting delivered to their customers. However, one of the specific chairs in one of the packages actually has a problem with one of the legs. And because of that, when the customer goes to sit on that chair, the leg suddenly breaks all of a sudden and the customer falls down and breaks their neck. This is an extreme example, but it is something that could potentially happen and could be the reason why you end up getting sued. So one of the most important things you want to understand is that defective product could lead to a lawsuit very easily because it simply results in a user getting injured or harmed in any way possible by the product. And this could be simply done due to a manufacturing issue where whatever factory the product was getting made in forgot to thoroughly check the product, and this resulted in this defective piece. When the customer sues somebody, it is not going to be the factory in China, it is going to be directly you, because you are the person that actually sold the chair to this customer. And this is why it's so important to make sure you're following these specific guidelines, which I'll be mentioning later on in the video, to ensure that you don't really end up selling these defective products. One of the easiest ways to know whether a product on Aliexpress or the seller selling that product is defective is by just looking at the reviews available for that given product. That should very easily let you know whether that product is any good or not. But this is again one of the most common ways that a lot of people end up getting sued simply because the product ended up harming the user in any way possible. But this brings me to my next point, which is not having enough warnings or instructions regarding the product. And this basically causes a misuse of the product, which could lead to life-threatening issues. Maybe the person gets hurt in the process. To give you guys an example for this kind of situation, let's say you're selling a hair cream for hair regrowth, but the package that the product comes in doesn't have any types of instructions, and you also fail to provide any types of instructions. The product is supposed to be applied only 2 times on the hair, but the customer ends up applying it 10 times and they end up losing all of their hair. This could again lead to a lawsuit for your Shopify store and you personally, because you fail to provide any types of instructions and you are the seller, not the factory that produced the product for you. So again, this means that you will be the one getting in trouble. You would have to face all of the consequences related to lawsuits and getting sued. Some of the most common consequences a lot of people face when it comes to getting sued is that they end up having to shut down their Shopify store fully, or in some cases the other party is understanding, they may simply have to just take down the product and that's the end of that. However, some people do like to take it a bit further, because just because you take down a product after a notice is filed against that product because maybe you took that product from someone else and copy their images as well, or maybe it's a defective product or was a product without any warnings or instructions, you are not fully free from the lawsuit. Even though you have taken the product down, now it has still been sold, and to that customer as well, whoever had issues with the product. So that means you will still get sued even if you take down the product, which is why it is so important to not end up in a situation like that in the first place. But the third and most common thing why so many people end up in lawsuits with their products is because the product itself had a very bad design. Now, what do I mean by this exactly? Well, for example, if you buy UV sunglasses and the sunglasses don't provide any type of UV protection, obviously that's not a good designed product. That means it's not going to perform its functions, and the customer who purchased that product has the ability to file a lawsuit or just sue you because of that. So basically, a product that does not perform the function it was designed to do can fall under this category. That means people can sue you for this. Another example is basically you selling eye drops that you put inside your eyes that end up not helping at all, or rather even damaging the person's eyes. That also means that the product itself was not designed properly and it did not do its functions, which is why it ended up harming the customer, just like it would with a defective product. So these are some of the biggest reasons why people end up getting sued in the first place with Shopify dropshipping. And again, as I already mentioned, these things have big consequences. Often it's not as easy as just shutting down the Shopify store or just taking out the product as well. If there were a lot of orders done for this product and even multiple people start taking objections, that's when you could land in some serious trouble, which is of course what we don't want as dropshippers. But the fourth and most common thing that a lot of people also face getting lawsuits over is selling trademark or copyrighted products. Now, I have made a lot of videos on product research on my channel. In a lot of those videos, I also mentioned how you should avoid using these trademarked or copyrighted products, or how to even know whether they're trademarked or copyrighted. Basically, if you want to sell any types of trademark or copyrighted products, you need to have a reseller's license. And most dropshippers do not even know what a reseller license is, which means that you want to stay 10 feet away from all kinds of products which have a brand name associated with it. And I'll be going over more in detail into this very shortly. But exactly how do you deal with all of these things, and how do you make sure that you can continue dropshipping the right way without getting sued? So the first thing you'll have to actually do is, first of all, focus on the Aliexpress supplier more than even the product, because a lot of Aliexpress suppliers and a lot of suppliers in general from China do engage in copyright infringement activities and do often create products which they should not be creating. The main reason behind that is because the laws over there are not so strict when it comes to these kinds of things, and you will be the one getting in trouble if you do end up selling products that a lot of these Aliexpress suppliers do sell. What I've personally noticed is that those Aliexpress suppliers with over a 93% positive rating often don't engage in such activities. They often take the right way to sell their products, and this could save you from a lot of trouble. So that's why I always recommend that you look at a supplier and make sure that they have 93% positive feedback or more before even deciding whether to list their product on your store or not. If you really want to sell a specific product and the supplier is not that great when it comes to the positive ratings, just find another supplier. Watch one of my other videos on how to source products from Amazon and eBay and do that rather than using that supplier, because down the road it will cost you heavily if the supplier turns out to be a fraud supplier and sells you copyrighted or those products with defects or issues with them. But this does not mean that you should completely avoid looking at the product ratings themselves, because with product ratings, I want to be only selling products with a rating of 4 stars or higher, because anything lower, and usually this could mean that the product is damaged or defective, or the supplier is not taking good care when packaging the product. What I normally do before selling any type of product is just check through a few of the reviews for that product and make sure that there are no significant red flags within the reviews. Because if a lot of people start saying that the product is badly designed, or maybe the product is defective when it arrived, that could simply mean that you want to avoid selling that product from that supplier. Maybe find a more reliable supplier selling a better quality product, or just stay 10 feet away from that product in order to avoid getting sued in the future. But of course, not every product is going to have reviews in the beginning. So if a product does not have any types of ratings, check the supplier's other best-selling products and look at those products' ratings, because usually good suppliers will have good ratings for their products, at least a majority of the products. But if it's a bad supplier, if it's a con artist, usually you can tell by looking at their other products reviews and seeing how other customers experienced the products and whether they even liked it in the first place or not. And I always make sure to do this before listing any types of products nowadays, because the laws are becoming very strict, whether it comes to advertising or just selling online in general. So you want to make sure that you're not doing anything that is against the rules, because that is an easy way just to lose your dropshipping business. So always make sure to check the ratings for other products, but also for the product itself that you want to sell, as well as the supplier as a whole. But in addition to that, just simply avoid selling products with brand names associated to them. So for instance, if you want to sell a TV, don't go out and try to buy Sony TVs or Samsung TVs and try to dropship those, because of course those are associated with the big brands. Again, as I mentioned earlier, you need a reseller license to sell those kinds of products. You want to only be selling those kinds of TVs which don't have any brand name associated with them and don't have any types of logos on the TV itself which associates that product with the brand name. But in addition to that, don't try to sell any types of products with famous people or famous things which could be copyrighted or trademarked on your Shopify dropshipping store. One great example is that of the phone cover. So for instance, if we go on Amazon and simply type in phone cover with celebrity, we'll see different types of styles popping up. So this first style is not any type of copyrighted or trademarked product, simply because it just has a design of flowers, nothing too crazy. However, if you look at this second cover right here, this has a very, very high chance of being copyrighted and trademarked, simply because this is a famous person on the phone cover. And a lot of people sell these kinds of products on Amazon, eBay, Aliexpress as well, potentially because they could possibly have the reseller license, but that does not mean that they don't really sell them illegally as well. So you don't want to kind of go and dropship from those kinds of people. But if you scroll down, another type of illegal product would be this kind of one right here, where there's a famous person on the phone cover. And this again has a possibility of being trademarked or copyrighted. On the other hand, you want to simply sell a simple product like this, where there's no real type of brand associated with that. Sure, there's a specific name at the front, which is Daily Lux, but if we check on Google, there's no real brand that's called Daily Lux. But of course, you would need to do a little bit more research to find out exactly whether this product is a real brand or is just some made-up name that a lot of Chinese suppliers often do, because that will let you know whether this is a product that you really can be selling or you cannot be selling. But this brings me to my last point, to how to avoid really getting sued, and that is to simply separate yourself from your business. Now, what do I mean by this exactly? Well, in order to really separate yourself from your business, you need to register the business as a limited liability company or an S Corp or any of the other ways that you can register a company. And the main reason why I suggest this, especially if you're starting to get some traction and starting to do at least $5,000 to $10,000 in sales every single month, is because when you register your business as a limited liability company and somebody sues you, they cannot sue you personally, meaning they won't be able to take your car or your home in the case that you lose the lawsuit. Rather, they can only take what is registered under this LLC or S Corp or whatever other type of business you have registered as. So if only your website is registered under that business, they can only take that website and nothing else, which saves you from a lot of more trouble down the road, because if they personally sue you, you could possibly lose a lot of things from your life, which is something you don't really want to do. So once you start getting those sales, make sure to separate yourself from your business. And again, you want to talk with your local accountants to get more info on this. But getting sued definitely is not fun, but if you follow all of the things mentioned in this video, you have a very, very low chance of getting sued. But if you found any type of value in this video, make sure to smash that like button down below and don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.